Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Shadow of the Colossus, the remake for the PlayStation 4. So if you happen to have already played this game back either in the PlayStation 2 days or the PlayStation 3 days, because yes, this game comes all the way from PlayStation 2, it then received a remaster on the PlayStation 3 and is now getting remade for the PlayStation 4. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are going to start crying, foul, oh my god, what a milking of this, that, and the other. But I've already made my point clear, I think, when it comes to remasters and remakes. Like I always said, if a game is worth it, I would like that game to always be available in current generation hardware. Now that doesn't mean if it's on PlayStation 4 or on PlayStation 20, 300 years from now or something. Well, 300 years might be pushing it a little bit, but you know, that's what I'm saying. Like on friggin' current generation hardware, I will be happy if this title continues to be released, remade, because it is worth it. There's still people, there will still be generations that were not exposed to this particular title. And if you've never played this game, I cannot recommend it enough. This is one of those games that I had never played. I played it back on PlayStation 3, and I did a full playthrough. There's a full playthrough on the channel if you guys want to see what the gameplay is like, because the gameplay has not changed that much. The only thing that really changed is the visuals, because they completely remade the game from the ground with new textures, new I think even the animations, even though they feel very like the old ones, I think pretty much everything is new. And I'm gonna try and get like a comparison with the old version of the game, put these two side by side in this video as I'm talking about this stuff. But it is like, the game looks more beautiful than ever, and the gameplay feels just as solid. Now, for those of you that do not know what Shadow of the Colossus is all about, this is a game where it is like, I can't even tell you that much about the story because it almost already spoils it. But let's just say it is a story of love, which it's interesting saying it like that, but it is a story of love and the things we do for love and what happens afterwards, in a way. And that's pretty much all I can say without giving it away. Now, the gameplay is going to consist of you taking down these giant colossi, which are, it's basically just boss fights. There's no minions, no nothing kind of like in between. It's just like you go from boss fight to boss fight until you eventually finish the game. It is not a particularly long game. To give you guys an idea, in this game I have like 16 episodes in my channel or something along those lines, and it's pretty much one Colossus per episode if I remember correctly. But anyway, it's like you go and you fight these Colossus, and the way in which you fight them is usually climbing through them. It's almost like a little bit of puzzle platforming with action in between. And it's like, if you guys remember Dragon's Dogma, right? I did a full playthrough of Dragon's Dogma. You guys remember that whole mechanic where you're grappling onto monsters and climbing on top of the monsters and hitting them in the weak spots? This game is the game that invented that mechanic. The mechanic of climbing on top of monsters and hitting them on the soft spot. This is the game that made that happen. This is the, at least as far as I'm aware, this is the first game that has done that mechanic. And not only that, but it is such an artistic game. Like you will notice with the very minimalistic UI, which in this one, it's even more minimalistic, which makes it even better. But you have a very minimalistic UI. It's just like all about immersing yourself into the gameplay. It is a game where there are not, and there's no NPCs, there's no nothing. It's just, there's you, there's this temple, and there's the colossi for you to kill, and there's the story that happens in between. And there's your horse, of course, Aggro. We can't forget the horse, which is pretty much a character in and of itself in this particular game. And then there are the things that happen after you kill each of the colossi, which you will start to notice. I really want to talk about it, but at the same time I don't, because I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't played it yet. But basically, I'm going to leave here the fight against the first Colossus so that you guys can see the visuals, like all of the changes and what the gameplay looks like. And all you really need to know is that the first Colossus is the easiest one. It is the one where you can make a lot of mistakes. As a matter of fact, I did a lot of mistakes because I don't remember some of the gameplay mechanics and some of the stuff, so you'll see me like fumbling. But I did notice a very interesting detail that I'm not sure this was in the previous version on the PlayStation 3. I'm not sure if that was a thing. But at one point, I switched to the bow because you can also have a bow during that fight, and I shoot a couple of arrows into a place where I think that there is a target. And then I just go back to using sword and climbing on top of him and slashing him. And eventually I get to that target that I was shooting arrows to, and the arrow is there. And this is like after a long time of me fighting the Colossus. I get there and there's the arrow, and I was just like blown away by the detail. You know, this usually an arrow in a video game is something that's disposable. You know, you don't really care about an arrow. You shoot an arrow, oh good, you hit your target, now the arrow's gone. But the fact that I climbed up the Colossus and hit him on all different locations, then eventually went back to that target and I saw the arrow there, I was very surprised, basically. But as you guys can definitely tell by watching the gameplay here, it is very cinematic while not sacrificing gameplay. Because at some point, I think it was 2013, 2014, the word cinematic became associated with bad because people were like, oh, it's 30 FPS for cinematic effect. It's like, no. I'm talking actual cinematic camera angles, the way in which the game is presented to you. I'm talking about that kind of cinematic feel. I'm not talking about, oh, it's cinematic because it's 30 FPS. No, I'm not talking about that shit, okay? Also, the game has different modes that you can run it at. The game will support 4K. I believe that on the highest quality mode, it only runs at 30 FPS, but you have a performance mode which runs at 60, which is the mode in which I recorded all of this footage because, to be honest, I don't have a 4K capture card. I can only capture at 1080p anyway, so I might as well give you guys the extra frames, and I personally like playing at 60 FPS, so that's what I went with. But it's just like, I cannot recommend Shadow of the Colossus enough. If you've never played it on any other generation before this one, and you own a PlayStation 4, you owe it to yourself to play this game, because it is most definitely worth it in every single aspect. In gameplay, in story, in just the sense of, I mean, there's even a bit of a sense of exploration, even though essentially you're going from Colossus to Colossus. But just like going through that landscape and seeing it in higher resolution, higher fidelity, it feels great. I'm not saying that this game is going to change your life if you've played one of the previous versions, because you guys know me. I'm more about gameplay over graphics any day of the week. So it's not a big deal, but I personally still want to go through the game again, and I will eventually do a full playthrough on Twitch. It's just right now, you guys know we got that Monster Hunter going. But eventually I want to do a full playthrough on Twitch of this game again, to share it with you guys again. But this is a timeless classic, people, and I'm happy they brought it back. Just super happy they brought it back. How do you feel about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.